to be bilingual because this issue is something जो हम लोगों को जरा अपनी ज़बान में एड्रेस करना चाहिए ताकि ये उन लोगों तक भी पहुंचे जिनके लिए हम यहाँ पे बैठे हुए इकट्ठे हुए और बात कर रहे हैं. जो 16 days of activism, this is the ग्लोबल कैंपेन जो हर साल स्टार्ट होती है 25 नवंबर को, जो कि आलमी दिन मनाया जाता है एलिमिनेशन ऑफ जेंडर बेस्ड वायलेंस, और इस कैंपेन को हम लोग एंड कर रहे होते हैं ऑन इंटरनेशनल ह्यूमन राइट्स डे. सो आज हम लोगों ने इस टॉपिक को डिस्कस करने के लिए अपने साथ इनवाइट किया है हम लोगों को माशाल्लाह से काफ़ी जो है पावरफुल women, and we cannot do anything without the support of our male, exactly. So let me just introduce our panel. We have also joined by Executive Director Dr. Abid Qayyum Suleri. He was in travel, but sir has joined us online. Thank you so much, sir. We have joined by Honorable Justice Aisha Malik, and I'm very happy to announce, like, she was the first female judge of the Supreme Court in the country's history, and her position marks a significant milestone for gender representation in the judiciary. Before her appointment in Supreme Court, she served as a judge at the Lahore High Court, where she made impactful ruling on various constitutional issues, including women's rights and environmental law. Thank you so much and welcome, ma'am. It's an honor to have you here. We will join by shortly Senator Samina Momtaz-Ri. She is the member of Senate of the Pakistan, also serving as the chairperson of the Senate Standing Committee on Human Rights since March 2021. She's in Prime Minister House for Human Rights Day celebration. So we have also joined by Mr. Khaliq Sahab. He's a prominent Pakistani civil society activist and the Secretary General of Human Rights Commission of Pakistan, with a rich background of human rights advocacy. He has successfully led various organizations and projects focusing on development, governance, and humanitarian response, including role with the Aga Khan Foundation and Ministry International. We have also joined by Ms. Rifat Enam Butt. She's the Secretary of Law, Justice and Commission of Pakistan, and one other movement of happiness, like she made the history as the first female to hold this position in the Commission's 3 decades of existence. So I'm very proud and happy to see this strong women in my panel today. And we have also joined by Andrew Borden. He's a British diplomat and development counselor with the over 20 years of experience with a focus of promoting gender inclusion and human rights, supporting the democratic resilience, anti-corruption, and tackling finance. And there's a huge profile of all of yours, but I cannot read all because we want to listen from you. So before we start, I would like to request Dr. Abid for his opening remarks from STPI.
Thank you, Sadia. I just wanted to participate as a participant, not to give any remarks. But let me join you in welcoming the distinguished speakers, Justice Aisha Malik Sahaba, Rifat Enam Butt Sahiba, Haris Khaliq, and our friend from FCDO. It's a real honor to welcome you at STPI when we're talking of sustainable development, when we're talking of sustainable development policies. I think the whole equation remains incomplete if we don't discuss and talk the 2 very important pillars that the distinguished panel will be discussing today. And I'm referring to human rights, and I'm referring to equity, especially gender equity. And as Sadia rightly mentioned, today we are marking the conclusion of 16th day campaign of ending violence against women and International Human Rights Day. And I think जो आप लोगों की deliberations होंगी, जो आप से हम learn करेंगे, that would directly contribute towards one pillar of sustainable development, which is social justice. समाजी इंसाफ जो है, जब हम समाजी इंसाफ की बात करते हैं, जो sustainable development या पायदार तरक्की के जो 3 pillars हैं, environment, economic justice and social justice, तो ये समाजी इंसाफ जो है, ये human rights को होल्ड किए बगैर और women equity और diversity को प्रमोट किए बगैर नहीं आ सकता. और अगर social justice नहीं होगा तो फिर economic growth और environmental conservation हर चीज जो है वो incomplete रहती है. So look forward to hear the distinguished panel. And once again, thank you very much to Jasra Aisha Malik Sahaba. It's for the first time you visited STPI. I wish I would have been there to welcome you personally. लेकिन मुझे उम्मीद है कि आपका ये विजिट जो है ये टीम STPI को सपोर्ट करेगा, उनको एक मोटिवेशन देगा कि वो लॉ एंड जस्टिस कमीशन के साथ मिलके काम कर सके. On conclusion, just wanted to say कि STPI में हम रिसर्च और एविडेंस जो जनरेट कर रहे होते हैं, we try to bridge them with policies, we try to bridge them with the policy-based laws and regulations, rules and regulations. और इंशाल्लाह ये जो दो इम्पोर्टेंट टॉपिक्स आज डिस्कस हो रहे होंगे, उस पे हमारे पास जो भी एविडेंस और रिसर्च सपोर्ट चाहिए होगी, we'll be more than happy to provide it to Law and Justice Commission and HRCP. Thank you very much, Sadia, for taking me online.
Thank you so much, Dr. Suleri. So, coming to the today's topic, as हम लोग जो 16 days of activism celebrate कर रहे हैं और जो इस साल का theme है वो है every 10 minutes a woman is killed, no excuse, unite to end violence against women. और हम लोगों ने थोड़ा जो अपना topic रखा सेमिनार का वो भी ये है कि linking rights to the future from gender-based violence. When we talk about the Pakistan's context, मैम आप लोग जो GBV पे research कर रहे होते हैं, मैं रात को एक report देख रही थी 2023 की जिसमें कि we have 80% increase from past years the gender-based violence in Pakistan. So sir, coming to you as a human rights activist, I would like you to highlight the challenges women are facing and give us the overview of human rights and connect this with the gender-based violence in Pakistan.
With your permission. Thank you, Sadia, and thank you, Abid and SDPI for holding this important conversation. You see, figures are very misleading in Pakistan, and it is not that gender-based violence has increased by 80%. It is something that needs to be actually acknowledged and recognized that more cases are being, brought to light. More cases are being registered. I'm not suggesting that gender-based violence or violence against children in particular has not increased. That's not what I'm suggesting. But I'm saying that there's a trend, which is a good trend, a positive trend, that these cases are being reported more than before. Globally, every third woman has, at least every third woman has experienced some form of physical or psychological abuse. And in Pakistan, perhaps this percentage would be higher. And unfortunately, if you look at the marginalization, there are degrees of marginalization in Pakistan. So if you are a poor man, it is a very anti-poor society and an anti-poor state, continuity of a colonial state structure, unfortunately. So you find that if you're a poor man in Pakistan, you're marginalized. That is the first degree of marginalization. If you're a poor Muslim woman, you are more marginalized than a poor Muslim man, coming from the majority faith or majority sect. And if you're a non-Muslim man, you have some other faith, and you're poor, then you are furthermore marginalized. And if you're a non-Muslim poor woman, then this country gives you no rights to exist. So there are these degrees of marginalization which our state institutions have to be aware of and accordingly address. So this is something that so there is an intersectionality of faith, gender, class, and caste in Pakistan. So any issue that you want to tackle or resolve or address has to be understood through that lens of intersectionality: faith, gender, class, and caste. Unfortunately, we still remain a part of the Indian subcontinent where caste system exists. So we deny that. Our constitution does not, there are some really positive rights enshrined in the constitution, fundamental freedoms enshrined in the constitution, but they're not realized. And so women take the brunt of it. But I would like to, finish the sort of the first answer, because I've taken quite long, on a positive note. Whether the state has done a lot or not, there has been a number of very pro-women pieces of legislation in the parliament as well as provincial assemblies in Pakistan. There are more than 20. over the last 10, 15 years. And that needs to be recognized, one. And two, women in Pakistan have actually brought about a silent revolution, which we need to, I mean, you mentioned Honorable Justice Aisha Malik becoming the Supreme Court judge, but we had seen Justice Majda Rizvi and, you know, a few other women in high courts. But apart from that, the number of lawyers, the number of engineers, the number of architects. I mean, I flew from a plane from Karachi to Islamabad last month. I don't remember which airlines was that. I travel quite a bit. So, but both the pilot and the first officer were women. This was not happening when I was young, and so there are things, and most of the women in this room will, I mean, I can we can have a bet on that, most of the women in this room, most, if not all, are more qualified than their mothers or their grandmothers. There will be exceptions, of course, but this is something that women in Pakistan have achieved and continue to achieve, breaking that glass ceiling that they have to face. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Haris Saab. You rightly mentioned about the faith, culture, caste challenges which we are facing, and now we are progressing toward the sustainable development. I hope maybe we are slow, but we will achieve this gender equality someday. So coming to you, Ms. Rifat, as you are working very closely on the project of gender-based violence. So what challenges you face when it comes to the access to the right information, when it comes to the collecting the data on, because in our culture, reporting and seeking the law is also, a cultural barrier where women normally don't prefer to go to the judiciary or something. So how you are overcoming these challenges and collecting the data?
Thank you very much, Sadia. First of all, I'm grateful for giving this honor, and it's quite a valuable forum to engage in constructive dialogue on the 60 days of activism. LGCP is a federal government institution which is very much associated with the research and law reviews, ensuring the implementation, enforcement, human rights, and obviously we collect the data across judiciary which are pending in Pakistan in various courts. One thing very interestingly, you mentioned about our previous year report. Before coming, I was looking at this year report, which we are now in the process of compilation. Yes, the number of GBV cases are much more which come to our table. Okay? So I made a chart. This is very interesting figure. First of all, the data we collect, I don't say that's the very scientific or holistic, but we are collecting some data. If I talk about my institution, and this data is something we get from the high courts directly. And these are the 8 categories which deal with the sexual violence, abduction, kidnapping, selling of persons, gender-based killing, gender-based hurt, offenses relating to marriage, economic violence, gender-based intimidation, and certain offenses under PICA. It's very interesting to note this year in 8 these categories, this year about 30,000 cases, 30,700 cases were instituted this year, which was the rollover of the past pendency. Whereas when I was looking at the previous year data about the institution, the fresh institution of that year, it's about 48,000. I have no idea why, because that required another research and fact-finding. Why this year, still October 30th, there is only less like reporting of the GBV cases. So we have no study on that, but this is what the data is revealing. And then there are the 480 cores which have been assigned, because the LGCP is champion, because way back in 2019 we started this project. Wherein the National Judicial Making Policy Committee decided to establish the dedicated courts across Pakistan. So either they specially assign these courts, the cases are referred to them. This year, these courts have decided 25,000 cases by end of October. In the last year, the number of the cases decided is 30,000. And if you look at the categories and the number which are being reported, the most of the offenses are reported in the sexual violence cases. Why? Again, we have to make a study. And interestingly, when you look at the conviction acquittal rate, is the conviction rate, which was previous year was noted to be around 4%, it has come to now 2% over that. So that is something alarming. Now, coming to the challenge, I think most of the stakeholders, be it the government, institutions like us, we need to sync our programs and policies. And most importantly, we are not taking the support of technology. When this age of everything, which is going to be very much digitalized, things are, be it your awareness, be it your education, we still insisting on, you may say, man-made material, the manual processes, and awareness is very much again, ke ji ye kitabe chhap do, ye brochure chhap do, it's not serving our purpose. So we have to empower for the legal, the education awareness are the two tools to empower the women legally. So if you want a woman to be empowered, so two things important, three, but obviously the educational empowerment, legal empowerment, and then the financial empowerment. That she comes into the role where she could be on the decision making and influential, so all that stuff. But what I noticed being in this institution, and we are going to initiate this process, so we need to, this legal empowerment, we need to have the support of the technology. आप tech to empowerment देख लें, आप उनको कोई software दे दें, they do not know कि जाना कहाँ पे है. If she faces a problem, जाना कहाँ है, फोरम कौन सा है, कौन सी अदालत है. आपको तो जो, with all the respect my legal fraternity, वो तो उन बेचारियों को case, whether I remained a judge, served in a district court for a good number of years, कि बहुत सारे cases get spoiled because they don't get the right counsel advice and the forums. फिर कहीं पे limitation hit हो गया है, कहीं पे वो अपनी energy lose कर जाते हैं. So it's very important. And secondly, the thing which I जो noticed है, सारा कुछ है कि laws तो आपने, there's the hundreds and thousands of laws. Even आपके GBV पे भी देखें तो recently हमने compendium बनाया है जो women legislation पे है, तो at least there are 100 laws in Pakistan में जो GBV से deal करता है. None knows about this. ठीक है, we myself is doing the simplification of the laws, but I did feel कि अब वो useful नहीं है. आपने उनको उनकी ज़बान में और आसान करके समझाना है कि राइट क्या है, रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी क्या है, मसला बन गया तो क्या उसको मदद मिल सकती है. तो आई डोंट सी कि वो चीजें, द थिंग्स आर बीइंग डन, इवन माय सो मेनी इंस्टीट्यूशंस आर. तो अवेयरनेस, राइट अवेयरनेस एंड राइट मोड ऑफ गिविंग एजुकेशन आई थिंक इज मिसिंग. एंड जितनी भी हम पॉलिसीज बना रहे हैं, जैसे उन्होंने भी कहा कि आपका फेथ, कास्ट, क्रीड, ये सारे हम इस चारों पैरामीटर्स के अंदर उसकी डिस्क्रिमिनेशन और वायलेंस डिफाइन होती है. तो unless until they know what the right exists, क्या law उनकी protection के लिए है, तो I think कि वो फिर वो एक वो document ही बन के रह जाएगा, that will be on the shelves आया. और जो data भी हमारा बनता है is the policy makers. So institution like us can collect data, can release that, but the one who are policy maker, decision makers, I don't think कि जो policies बनती हैं, so the data and the input analysis is considered in that. So that is a big gap for me.
Thank you so much, ma'am. You very rightly mentioned about the challenges. We do have policies, we do have laws, but when it comes to implementation, we lack there. So I think advocacy toward this is more important. Before I proceed to next speaker, I'm honored to join by Ms. Romina Khurshid Alam, and now I'm relaxed because I have a backup and I have someone who can, you know. So thank you so much. It's a surprise visit. So definitely, that's why I targeted you this time. So thank you so much for joining us. So ma'am, काफी लोग आपके इंतजार में थे. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So coming to Mr. Andrew, I'll come with a question like, as you are working in societies and effective institution, my question is with from you is, you know, how can open society and effective institutions collaboration to promote transparency and accountability and governance, especially in protecting human rights and combating gender-based violence?
Thank you very much, Sadia, and thank you very much to everyone, to SDPI for the invite. I feel very humbled to be on this panel. I wasn't quite sure it was going to be an exam question, so I feel under pressure that I need to now answer that question. So I'll try and get there. But it's an absolute honor to be on this panel, and I'm very humbled. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm sorry I'm going to have to speak in English because my Urdu is not up to scratch, but maybe someone can translate. But like I say, very pleased to be here at this seminar and to acknowledge the end of the 16 days of activism and perhaps get to a little bit to answer your question about the role that the UK is trying to play in partnership in Pakistan. But maybe before I get there, I just wanted to sort of corroborate what Harris said about breaking through the glass ceiling as being absolutely crucial. But we must acknowledge, however, that Pakistan and indeed the world and the UK still has a long way to go on this agenda. And I was struck by the title that you said every 10 minutes a woman dies. I mean, that is an absolutely shocking statistic. I'm slightly hope that's a global statistic and not a Pakistan statistic, but it's shocking. And so we've got a long way to go to ensure that women and girls are provided equal opportunities and a safe environment where they can achieve their full potential. Women in Pakistan, we know, are particularly vulnerable due to challenging social, political, and economic realities. Violence against women and girls in Pakistan is sadly prevalent, as it is in many places. And Pakistan has got a lot to build on in terms of the gender gap index. I've got the stat here where it says the ranking is second from bottom at 145 out of 146 countries, just behind Afghanistan. So there's a long way to go. And according to the Pakistan Demographic Household Survey, 28% of women in Pakistan have experienced physical violence, while 6% have experienced sexual violence. We must contribute to address this at all levels where we can, as collectively as we can. We must challenge the rollback of women and girls' rights, and hopefully this gets to your question, not just in Pakistan, but everywhere. And the UK tries to do this as best we can through all our diplomatic and development levers to ensure all girls and women in all their diversity have equal opportunity and nurturing environments. And we have put at the heart of our development policy that gender rights and equality is an absolute must of our development foreign policy. The UK government has been working in partnership with the government of Pakistan on various policy and institutional reforms aimed at strengthening women protection and response legislative frameworks. Recognizing what you said about legislation, we really want to also get into supporting the implementation. And to do that, we continue to support the Ministry of Law and Justice in the implementation of the Anti-Rape Law of 2021 and support revisions in the Child Marriage Restraint Act in the marriage age. We have supported establishment of the model anti-rape crisis cell in Islamabad and development of sexual violence response frameworks to guide interventions at the federal and provincial levels, alongside strengthening the GBV helplines at the provincial level. We also work directly with communities through our gender and education programs to create awareness about gender rights where we can. We are committed to work with the government, parliament, international partners, local civil society, to work together to address the demand and supply dimensions to address gender-based violence. I think just to conclude, we must continue to work collectively. This is a collective endeavor to ensure that every woman is able to live her life free of fear, harm, and discrimination. All of us must play our part in making Pakistan a more gender-inclusive society where women are given equal opportunity to thrive. So thank you very much for the opportunity to be on this panel. I'm more here to learn from way more esteemed panelists, but thank you for the invite. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much, sir, for very rightly compiling these challenges. Before we move to the next, I am getting the messages from ma'am. If you could please join us here.
Come on.
Let me the listener, please.
We'll just have to adjust one chair.
Yeah.
Just a second.
No.
ये वाली थोड़ी सी इधर move कर देंगे please.
अगर आ जाएगा आ जाएगा
Assalamualaikum, क्या हाल है?
My apologize for this disturbance and glitch. So thank you so much. I'll just come to all of you three speakers. You have given us the challenges, and we have discussed all the problems women are facing, whether it's human rights issue or the gender-based violence. I'll come for if you can give two concrete, brief policy recommendations. How can we improve? Because we have Okay, sure. Because after that, I will going to Miss. Sure, you can add.
I think that would be much better if you can end that.
Yes, definitely. इसका तो हम फायदा उठाएंगे. So one by one, if you can come to the brief recommendations.
let me add.
Okay. Let's don't follow the pattern. There is no pattern. Let it be brief.
Okay. That will be more great. So
embarrassed. Anyways.
No, we would like to listen from you actually.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much. It's a great honor for me to be the part of this Augustus panel. It's all of the people who are sitting on my right and left. They all are my very great favorites, and I do admire their work a lot, because every person has and have their own struggles. But in whole, I think globally, we all are celebrating, like everyone is saying that we are celebrating the Women Violence like Activism Day, which I don't understand why we are saying that we are celebrating it. Is there anything to celebrate? No, I wish we could do one day when it comes that we say that, okay, let's, talk something else. We have got a success. When we talk about, I'm so sorry, it's something I don't want to say anything written. I'm not talking on behalf of like whatever I'm today sharing, that's my personal feeling, personal experience. And I think that is the most important thing which can bring more clarity to the subject. Because, before I was here, I have a highly respect, but I believe that everyone has the right to agree to disagree. I don't believe that the faith and gender and the caste has do something with this violence thing, because everywhere in globally, women are suffering in the same phase. Everywhere in the world, the woman is suffering with the same challenges. If we talk about USA, these developed sort of countries, if we talk about UK, if we talk about EU, over there, the women are suffering more in a bad shape. That over there also somebody talk, okay, this is white American, brown American, this is black, this is Latin, this is, what is that? And then, but over there, it won't come in that way. But as being a Pakistani woman, and then from the faiths, if you talk about faith, every faith has given some right, but when we talk about Islami Jamhuriyat Pakistan, and if we talk about religion, Islam is the most liberal religion when it comes to women. But are we practicing that? Are those people who need to guide our children, are they doing that? And the most important thing, I believe, legislation is there. The courts are there. The justice system is there. The civil society is there. But nobody is, I believe that the most important and challenging thing is to educate a child. Because if you're going to educate a child, then that child will become more stronger, because they know the right. Has anybody told someone that, when you go to get the case fires up, like you have to follow these rules? Like you should not take shower, you should not go, you need to go straight away. And when that girl or child go to the police station, the way they came out from that harassment to another harassment, who's responsible for that? That is another big challenge. And then afterwards, when court has given their decision that, okay, this thing has been done, but what that afterwards, the impact, that girl, that woman, they are unable to survive in the society. And if a woman took some sort of decision that, okay, I've done it, Like maybe I would love to quote my example, and I'm proudly that I stand for myself. But how the society took it. Every time you have to, and I'm sorry to say, this is not only a gender violence only. They're the types of the violences. They're the types of the abuse. Every day we suffer. Every day it's going to be, either someone is body shaming you, someone is talking, oh, she's single. Okay, this is every time you're facing. What is that? So I think more important, the society needs to groom up. The law is there, the implementation is there, but as a society, are we responsible? We need to, I think moreover important is that. And then if you want a strong mother and you want this society to be free from violence, you need to invest on your children. I don't believe the youth is the future. I don't agree with that, because I believe youth is present. Your future is children. We need to invest in them. And as we talk, and when we talk about the children, I'm not saying that only the systemized school. I'm talking about the public school systems, because the children, they don't have the right, like they don't have that exposure. And in the societies, when we talk about, I'm glad that Madam Rifat has very clearly mentioned about the data which they have shared. But we need to have the research that after that, the cases which has been reported, what happened to those girls and the women, those adolescents? Because I still remember that I had a huge I went against the system. There was a 16-year-old girl who was being gang raped, and I took all the stand for her. But when it time to get the things done, her mother and parents, they got back off. They said, no, she's pregnant. What we can do? And they've murdered that girl. I still remember that. Today, I am a mother, and I have my 2 daughters, and I have a granddaughter. And I'm just thinking that, oh God, how are they going to survive? But I'm proud that I've not made my daughters weak. I'm proud that I've told them that, you have all the right as some man or a boy is having right. They have a right to choose. They have to right, because I don't want them to suffer like me the way I suffered. But the question is, I believe that the rights are there. We have best people. We, like on this front table, alhamdulillah, we've got the 4 women, and 4 of them are very strong. But every woman have their own struggles. Every day we are struggling. Every day we are being harassed. It's not that somebody's pulled your shirt. There are several ways. And what about the mental health issues? Nobody is focusing. The most important and painful thing which we are not paying attention, I just wanted to request, and of course I'm being a part of that, and I'm trying my level best to work on that, that in the schools, we need to have a mechanism. We need to make it compulsory that the children should be observed. And they need to get checked by the mental, people who can mentally, doctors mentally, who can evaluate them, who can check them, as internationally the practices are. That if the child is not behaving in a normal way, what are the reasons? Because that is the way, small things, I don't mind to say that. I don't mind to share it. And I don't believe that if someone have tears in their eyes, they are weak. I don't take my tears as my weakness. I took my tears my strength, because yes, I have at least the ability to show in the world that yes, I've suffered, and now today I am. Fight with me. I'm here. So, like several things, but the most important thing, that how the society behave with you. Like in my childhood, I belonged to a broken family. Still, those scars are with me every day. Like, it's good that parents got separated and they lived their life, but as being a child, still at so many long years, I have to say, no, iski to maan ne chhod diya hoga, to ye to kaisi aulad hogi? Maan beti ka reflection hoti hai. How can you do that with a child? So, there are so many things. So I believe, I don't want it to take much time, because I to sunne ke liye zyada hi thi. Lekin I think it's very much important. It's very much important to be the part of the society, and not only, and I believe, I don't know I'm right or wrong, but I believe that woman needs to strengthen another woman. She needs to become the strength of another woman, because mostly a woman is the biggest enemy of sometimes to another woman. So we need to, if you are a mother, you need to make your daughter strong. Agar aapne ghar mein dukh uthaya hai, aapke saath bura hua hai, how can you let your daughter to be suffer again? And why you want her? Because when a girl tell to a mother or a boy, they stood up and they said, something happened to us. They said, shh, quiet. Tum jhoot bol rahe hoge. Tum jhoot bol rahe hoge. We all suffered that. Maybe I suffered that, and people said, no, ye to nahi ho sakta. Jhoot bol rahe honge. because we don't, and then from there, we've been asked to shut up. We've been suppressed badly, and that is the thing. There are two ways. Either you become over positive and oversensitive, or either you become more negative. So this is not the crime of society. The first thing I think my belief is that it's your home. Like as being a Montessori trained teacher, and other way around, I think all of us who are sitting over here, हमने आप लोगों ने PhDs की होंगी, मैं तो एक आम सादा सा इंसान हूँ, इतनी पढ़ी लिखी नहीं हूँ, लेकिन the first lesson from the Montessori class we all remember still. No matter you guys have done PhDs or what, when you walk in your class, still you remember that the KG teacher or the nursery teacher, how she holds, and still we remember it was the fantasy to hold like a mother her dupatta and something that okay, teacher is there. So same like the mother is your first nursery. So if we really want our society to change, I think it's more important to change first yourself, treat your daughters as, and it's nothing modern, it's nothing wrong, because that is the education which already your religion is giving. Because Islam is the first, I believe, the religion which has given all the right. वो पैदा होते ही बेटी को मजबूत बनाया गया है. But are we giving those rights? We need to go and ask again and again. And I think that is more important, that we need to see that those scholars, how they are teaching and preaching. I think that is the more responsible area which always been neglected. We always ask society, civil society, we always ask our judiciary system, we always ask for like everyone, but we mostly missed one element, which is the most element. क्योंकि आपने PhD भी की हो, आप जो मर्जी हो, लेकिन आपको लगता है कि अगर किसी religious scholar ने कुछ कह दिया है, तो वो सबसे सही बात कही है. So I think we need to focus on that as well. Thank you.
Ma'am, thank you so much for highlighting all these reality-based challenges which we face every day. Listening to you remind me like I got some in. I'm going to emotional. So sorry, but I was having a case in family court, Islamabad, but I back out because I was the woman and.
It's okay.
It's okay. It's okay. Good to be strong. I need to be say, I'm sorry for being emotional. We need to be proud. Yes, we have emotions.
Actually, but I think we are here to, make society equal for everywhere, where I can go and access my rights, where every woman can go and access their rights. So thank you so much for highlighting these issues. Sorry, I don't want to do this here, but it's okay. So I come to you, Ma'am Smeena, for your keynote remarks on today's topic.
I'm sorry I was late today, unfortunately, because of times and the events that are happening, and they don't have the sensitivity about time. This was very important for us to be together. It's an honor to be here. Thank you, Sadia. And I understand where you're coming from, because you're at a strong place. You're at a forum where you can actually represent yourself. Imagine people who don't have that strength. I have met with so many people. So this is my first term. My name is Senator Samina Mumtaz Zairi. I'm from Balochistan, Balochistan Awami Party. I was born and raised in Sindh, to a Sindhi family, and then married into Balochistan. So first 3 years I was in the Interior Committee. And it was one of my favorite topics from my childhood. I'm also have a law background, and so I always stood up for wherever I could possibly for the women. And then I got an opportunity. So the rape cells, and I stood up. I got one of the ministers in Balochistan arrested because the private prisons. I brought in a law against that as well. I did quite a bit, as much as I could, and I can till today. Implementation is an issue in our country. We have lots and lots of legislation, and being a legislator, I can tell you that every second, third day, I'm one of those who stands up and screams as much as I possibly can. So now coming back to being a chairperson of the Human Rights of the Senate Functional Committee, it was quite frustrating for me. It's been my first 4 or 5 months, and I had a go between all the commissions and the Women Commission, the Child Commissions, and everybody. So I'm sorry, Madam Rifat, it was very nice listening to every single thing that you said. You're right about the data collection. We have a huge gap. Number one is 18th Amendment, the gap between, so the Ministry of Human Rights came up to me and said, oh, you're the right person who can actually bring the gap, you can connect the gap that we have between the provinces. I was like, they're not answering to you. They kept on telling me that nobody responds to us regarding the domestic violence cases, the child abuse cases, the rape cases. They don't have data. The data that they actually bring forward to my committee, it's a waste of my time. I have shunned them off. They try to paint a pretty picture. So I addressed different provinces, because obviously there's prosecution, then there was the police department, then there was a legislation, and then everybody together. I brought them to, and the commissions, the NGOs, the private entities, and I said, come on, give me what's the problem. So the funny thing that came up to me was one of the AIGs came and gave me a presentation, the women police, and they said, I'm just sharing with you, I'm not going into the technical grounds, I'm just giving you like a background where our problems lie. So the AIG came up to me and she gave me a presentation which said, the successful stories of the police department. So as soon as she started, I said, please, you need to delete this part. I don't think there's any success where you're doing any work. So she said that we have a line where domestic violence is addressed. I said, do you? She said, yeah. So I said, you call 15? She said, no, there's another number. I said, okay, where have you brought this awareness? When I, being the chairperson of human rights, being an educated female who's sitting here at this forum, does not know what your number is that I need to call if I'm being abused by my husband or my relative, how do I contact you? So they said, okay, oh, you need to call this number. I said, okay, have you addressed it? Have you published it? Have you told people? Have you told the local public? How are they supposed to know? They said, oh, we're working on that. I said, when? When the world ends? So now what happens is domestic violence. They said, oh, you can call the police. We're on for. So I told them, your problem is the police reforms. When I, as a woman, cannot address you as a policewoman, and I can't come up to you, I don't have a comfort zone with you, I can't speak to you about my problems because you're so harsh. First thing you say is, तुमने ही कुछ किया होगा, तुम्हारी शक्ल से लगता है तुम 2 number हो. Like accusations on the woman by a woman. I said, what's the softening part? How are you talking? You're talking to me right now politely because I'm a person of a higher level than you are. So a few days later, one of my domestic staff had a problem. A Christian woman who, obviously under Christianity, I'm sure all of us know that you can't divorce there's no divorce, right? So she was having issues at home. I addressed her. This is just one example of the many that I have faced in my experiences. So I said, I called that, surprisingly, she came to my mind. So I called her. I said, madam, this is a problem. You said, I send the woman to your police station in Karachi, Azam Basti or someplace. And I said, your SHO said, कि जाओ ये कोर्ट में जाओ, ये हमारा मसला नहीं है, घर का प्रॉब्लम है. मैं कहा ये क्या बात हुई? So she went back and she told the police SHO and said, address this issue. The IO asked for her for 35,000, her husband for 35,000 to negotiate between the two. I found out, I called her again. She said, madam, I'll look into it. She went back and she spoke to the IO and said, get this sorted out. In the end, we came to a conclusion where the husband left her around, where he was not only, he had divorced her, but also gone and married another married woman who was also picking up her children, who was abusing every single thing. Problem with our country is, I'm sorry, I'm saying this on live television, maybe, I don't know where I am speaking, and I don't really care because this is the problem that we are all facing. Issue is that women in our country are facing so many issues at different levels, be it a daughter of a rich man, a poor man, anybody. Because when it comes down to anybody's respect, the taboo is बर्दाश्त करो, मार खा लो, शादी किए, मर के निकलो. हालांकि the religion says, don't compromise. Do not stand it if you do not want to last in this relationship. Walk away when it gets tough. For whatever reasons, that is what the problem is. Our judiciary, I'm sorry, with all due apologies, not addressing to you, but we do not care about public importance cases. We do not care about these issues. We are more interested in political cases, even the lawyers. That's where the money lies. Number one. Number two, police reforms is the most important thing. Third, prosecution. When I speak to the judges one-on-one and I say, why are you not addressing this issue? They say, we take up an issue. The prosecution turns around and says, sir, ये तो IO ने case कमजोर कर दिया है. इसमें हम क्या कर सकते हैं? That is where we need to work on. This is the problem where it lies. Then if you want to come to the root cause of Pakistan's issues where domestic violence is concerned, yesterday we visited a UN Women, event where it was 16 days workshop. I was very happy to find out that they're actually bringing awareness through a theater and telling the children about how it is. But they're telling adult children. They need to put this into the women, the mothers, and then the children at a young age, so that when they grow up, they know what their rights are. These children already know because they've seen their mothers getting beaten up. They've seen the brothers getting abused. It's not only the women that suffer, it's also the boys that suffer. Technically, when the mother's being beaten up, the closest thing that a mother is to anybody is a boy child. The girls are close to the fathers, but when they see both the children, the boy and the girl, are seeing that the mother is being abused by the father, the girl understands it's okay to get beaten up because my mother's taking it. The boy understands it's okay to hit a woman. It's okay to hit my sister. What the mother needs to what I teach, I have 3 kids. I have 2 boys and a girl. Every single day, the one principle that I do in my house is I tell my sons, you raise your hand on a girl, that's the end of your life. And I'm very strict about it. The girl, I say, don't stand up to violence. And that's what they do. And that's how it is. This is what we need to implement in our society. We need to get out of that shell that we're living in, and we need to teach our scholars, the religious scholars, like Madam said, that, it's stressful for people like us. Each one of us, this research shows that the home is the most insecure place for a woman to be in. It's safer to be outside your house because you become attacked in your own place by your husband, by your father, by your brothers, by your siblings. Abhi tak kitne cases hain? What conclusions have been drawn? I'm not going to quote one very famous case in Islamabad. I discussed it. The girl was raped, beaten up, her head was cut off. Now we know who it is. In the end of the day, what happened? My colleagues turned around and one day we were discussing and I said, we haven't been able to do anything. We haven't stood up for the girl. The parents are crying. One of my colleagues, a very senior colleague, I was ashamed that day. I actually was sad to hear. She said she was a gold digger. She was a gold digger. That's the reason why she died the way she did. I'm sorry. There is no excuse for a girl to be treated that way. If she wanted to make a change, if she fell in love, I think it's Disney World that we need to sue. I'm sorry. Okay? For bringing in the notions of love and all that stuff. That's where we go wrong. But this is the problem. Our society is the issue. There's so many things that we need to address first. These campaigns, these gatherings, this forum that we're working on, these commissions that we based. So I'll tell you what you said, that you said the data. You know where I did a research. I called in all the people. I said, give me the details of how your system has been working. The Women's Commission. For the last 12 years, there have been people sitting on deputation. People who don't deserve to be there, who have no idea what they're doing. They came up to me and they gave me, excuse my language, BS data, which was not factual. The Supreme Court had, like you said, you got the data from the judiciary. And they had more cases narrated than the commission did. There's a huge gap between all these people. We need to collectively work if we need to make a change. That's the only way we can work through it. So, I just ended all of this because I can't do anything. I can't do anything as a chair of a human rights committee. And I want to do so much. But the frustrating part is when I call you, I call XYZ, and I gather you around, you just want to paint a pretty picture and you want to go far away from reality. Let's address it. This is about our children. This is about our future. This is how it works. It's not going to, it's not going to work out this way. So my request to each one of us is that, yes, whatever's happening around the world, that's no excuse that we should be treated like this, because Islam, our country, gives us more rights as a woman than any other religion does. We have more freedom. So what we need to do is we need to go back to the madrasas and find out exactly what their education is, the head of the madrasas, and find out what their qualification is to be heading those madrasas, if they're actually legit or not, were all over Pakistan, number one. Number two, speak to the these jurists and find out exactly what the thought process is. work together aligned and find out what are they thinking, where are we going wrong, then also get together with the judiciary, the prosecution, and find out exactly what their problems are and collectively address. People like you are sitting here and getting upset, finding out how many cases have I seen in the recent past where women have compromised the situation because there was no way out. There were murders in Punjab where a girl was hung on top of, on her fan. If technically, if you sit, I am not going to go into the evidence factor, but there was a bed, there was a stool on top of a bed. Foam के ऊपर bed रख के आप मतलब stool रख के आप देखेंगे, it's not possible. Then the person's neck, a blind man can tell you it was an act put together. But what happened? Because the man who had power, he had money, he won. Why can't we take it up pro bono? Why can't the judge see it? Why do they have to rely on prosecution? Why can't they say no? This is pure murder. That is where the problem is. They're not interested. You need to be interested. This can be your own daughter. This can be your child tomorrow suffering. That's the problem. I think our emotions have died. They're just dead. They don't just care. It's just about doing a duty. You just need to tick a thing. Okay, it's done. We need to go past that now. So, sorry guys, I think I got a bit too emotional, but yeah, that's the reality. But that's a reality of me. Panch, it's been 5 months since I've been a chair, and I have been so irritated and fighting, and I give it to whoever I possibly can because I need facts. I want to know, and I want to actually do something but if this is the way we're going to go, we're not going to do anything. We're just going to keep on doing these forums, and we're going to get together, chit chat, have a nice cup of tea, and do 16 days of activism. Reality is far from it. People dying every single day. And if you see the kind of faces that those women go through, what they deal with, and I'm sure people on ground, I've seen women cry, I've seen girls cry, I've seen this child. I have had to go on international forums to be able to answer on behalf of my country, what are you doing? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to say to them? Oh, we are doing something. We're still doing something. I think it's not that difficult if we actually get on the ground and get it done. And interesting thing is कि जब जलसा निकलता है मुल्क के अंदर, धरने के अंदर पूरे roads block हो जाते हैं, हर कोई activate हो जाता है, हर कोई कहता है जी, why did you do this? This is their right. Constitutional right is that they have the freedom to speak. Everyone all over the world screams out. The news flash that first comes out and says, so and so got raped, so and so got beaten up, so and so daughter got death sentence. Everybody has a judgment call to say, oh, she was digging into money, oh, she was desperate, oh, she was looking for love, oh, they had this problem, she deserved it. Really? But the person who breaks the law, crosses the line, goes into the boundaries where you're not supposed to go, nobody breaks the line there. Then you have human rights, then you have the UN stands up, the international lobbies start talking. What about these places? Nobody says a word except for organizations where we sit together like this and we speak out. Okay, oh yeah, we're doing this stuff. So sorry guys.
Sorry, only one thing that she said with one example. Usually हमारे यहाँ trend बन गया है because the law is bad. This I think is Taiba case at Kasur. ये वही law है जिसके तहत investigation हुई. ये वही law है जिसके तहत वो prosecute हुआ. 7 days में वो DNA हुआ, and then उसकी conviction and then appeal was within the time frame. So क्या हमें जब तक खबर नहीं आएगी तब तक क्या action नहीं होगा? That's very unfortunate.
And on top of that, let me just add one other thing. So where rape was concerned, the rape cases, I brought an amendment into the 21 law. They said that a rape cell should be formed in different areas with the rape investigator. Now already a rape victim is a target by the society. First of all, no parent is going to go out and say, oh, my child got raped or molested or violence or abused, whatever. When you highlight that block and you put it up, so I suggested private and public hospitals should be made, they should be ensured to make sure that they give the victim that whole medical examination within the certain period that is required. Every emergency room, like we have an emergency room where we can take in the victim. So there should be another room right inside the hospitals where the first thing that came out was, no, the government objected, the mullahs objected, everyone objected. I said, so if I bring in a victim into that cell, so whoever goes in, they will be shunned down by society. जो नहीं पता भी होगा उसको भी पता चल जाएगा कि she was raped. Why can't you see? Your society is not going to change unless you don't bring it from the childbirth. हमारी माओं का हमारा कसूर है. We mothers are at fault that we do not bring up our children in that particular way to be able to grow up and learn that this is how we respect women. Be it London, be it Australia, be it any other country in the world. That is where it lacks. And I think I spoke to the Australian High Commissioner. They said that we are now addressing the boys. We're teaching them. That's not right. It's not right. Domestic violence ke upar, they're working because I think their rate is a bit higher than ours. I'm sure. That's what I know. I don't know what's right. Yeah.
Australia.
But it's all over the world, but specifically there.
So actually, मैम आपकी बात को भी सेकंड करती हूँ. हम लोगों के पास जब हम ये चीज डिस्कस करते हैं तो लॉट्स ऑफ एग्जांपल जो हम रियल लाइफ में देख रहे होते हैं. इस्लामाबाद में उस केस के बाद भी कुछ ऐसे केसेस हुए. हम लोग 2-3 दिन के लिए वो सोशल मीडिया पे उसको इतना हाईलाइट कर देते हैं, बट उसके बाद फिर क्या होता है, नोबडी नोज, क्योंकि नया केस आ जाता है, वेदर इट्स रेप और फेमिसाइड और व्हाटएवर इट इज.
उसको साइलेंट
कर देते हैं.
And social media also takes it down.
Because last year I was in Sindh, हम local government की trainings कर रहे थे on harassment. So we do have cells where they can call if they are victim of harassment or something, but they don't know. Or people like us, we are sitting on the forums. I know I have to call maybe 399 or something, but they don't know. When we give this training, they were like, कि आप तो हमारे लिए पीरो, हमें तो ये चीज पता ही नहीं थी कि हम अगर ये चीज face कर रहे हैं, but how to report this. So I think awareness and advocacy is very important, and the language में भी, क्योंकि आज का भी ये सेमिनार हम लोगों ने bilingual इसलिए रखा क्योंकि we are discussing the problems of that woman who is not much educated, who is not economically empowered. उसको नहीं पता होगा ये laws का. हमें पता है कि we do have this laws and we do have these policies.
हमें भी नहीं पता.
I don't agree. हमें पढ़ी लिखी और जो अनपढ़ औरतें हैं वो पढ़ी लिखी औरत से फिर भी कहीं ज्यादा मजबूत है. नहीं, लेकिन राइट ना पढ़ी लिखी औरत को भी नहीं पता, बिकॉज कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन को मैं हमेशा ये कहती हूँ और बार-बार कहती हूँ कि जब आप शेक्सपियर क्या पढ़ाते हैं ना स्कूल्स और कॉलेजेस में, one needs to focus that we need to teach our children that they should definitely read the Constitution of Pakistan.
Definitely. I think these are some, I'll come to you next, because these are something which, we have to work on. But I think the lots of challenges we have discussed here, because we have to, end at 4:30. And I think ये एक ऐसा topic है जिसपे हम अगर रात तक भी बैठे हैं तो we can, yes. So I'll just come to you with, we would like to, end this on a positive note before we come to Justice Aisha Saiba for conclusion of today's discussion. All of three speakers, you have given us the challenges and lots of number and work which we are doing in our. One thing, I think we are working in silos. We have to work together. We have to work in synergies, whether it's civil society, whether it's this government sector, whether it's judiciary. We have to come together to address these issues. So I'll just come to you for key recommendation at the end, and one thing which you would like to add here.
Well, thank you. I think it's been a really, informative and an emotional conversation, and I think it is very important. But something that we haven't spoken about is women living with disabilities. And that is one area where neither they are counted in the census. I had, a colleague working with me. He was based in Multan, and I asked him that how many children do you have? And he was educated at Bahauddin Zakaria University. He had an MA degree, and he said, I have 3 children. But then he started speaking to somebody in Saraiki, and he didn't know that I could understand Saraiki very well. And then he spoke of 5 children. So I asked him that you told me 3 और अभी आपने 5 बच्चों के नाम लिए. And he said, but 2 माजूर हैं, right? और वो दोनों लड़कियां थी. So I think this is important that, women living with disabilities have to be, the kind of abuse they face, You were Rubina, you were speaking about body shaming. They are told that ये retributive justice है. तुम्हारे माँ बाप ने, दादा दादी ने कुछ ऐसा काम किया होगा जो तुम्हारे पैर मुड़े हुए. You know, so taboo. So I think that is one thing. The other thing is that you know, in terms of there is denial. We deny everything. You know what is happening in our political, you know, in our polity, in our society, everywhere. There is a denial. So I think first thing that we need to do, as Samina Senator Sahiba was pointing out, no, I know, but official forum है ना. So you know, denial से निकलना बहुत जरूरी है. और वो state के level पे भी denial है और society के level पे भी denial है. दूसरी चीज, I have a slightly different view than my friend Rubina's about religious scholars and religiosity in Pakistani society. I think we need to humanize, in my personal view, humble view, humanize and secularize these issues. Yeah, religious scholars are, you know, who we call religious scholars are not scholars, I'm afraid. And we should start saying that. And their interpretations are anti-women, they are misogynist, they are racist, they are classist.
And they're the ones who create all the problems.
And so I think, you know, and it is their domain. If you enter that domain, they are the representative authority, or they are self-proclaimed representative authority of faith. And this is something that we need to, I mean, so I'm accepting and respecting all faiths that we practice in Pakistan. We don't just practice Islam or Sunni Islam. We practice multiple faiths and we have multiple sects, respecting everybody equally. Everybody's right to worship, right to have a faith equally, but we need to humanize these issues and not take religious.
I will add to what you just said, where the jurists and the Islamic heads are concerned. So when I was speaking about rape in the Senate, and this is probably documented somewhere if you go through it. So one of the mullahs stood up and said, Madam ka rape ke bare mein to ye khayal hai, what kind of rape is she talking about? The zabardasti wala rape or consensual rape? I was like, ye wale kaun se rape hain jo mujhe nahi pata. I thought ki only rape that existed was non-consensual. Where did this one come from? So this is what they have said in the Senate.
Need to be sorted out.
So you see, this is the reason why I said what I said. Okay, you need to first find out if whether those people are actually educated enough to be Islamic jurists or not. But who's going to make a stand for that one? Then we're going to be classified in the blasphemy. Udhar aa jayenge aap. So you see, these gaps need to be, you know, we need to get together and sort it out.
So if the person who is sitting in the Senate and saying this, then hum bahar jo uneducated hain.
And then I trashed him also.
So Ms. Rifat, I'll come to you for you know, one key recommendation at the end.
Thank you very much. So many discussion, nice, but so many recommendations. Very quickly too. I think we need to reform and strengthen the implementation mechanism relating to GBVs, ensuring that crisis centers, protection order, and survivor support services are fully operational, which are unfortunately not. And secondly, I will emphasize that we are to establish centralized data system to monitor GBV trends, identify policy gaps, and inform evidence-based reforms. Or digital solutions देना भी उसका बहुत ज़रूरी है. We want to keep a track to understand. Otherwise, another discussion will be after a couple of months and years. Thank you.
Sure.
सजा का सख्त होना इतना इम्पोर्टेंट नहीं होता जितना उसका यकीनी होना. और आप ज़ैनब अलर्ट का देख लें और उसके बाद आप देखें ट्रेंड क्या उस मतलब it was a piece of legislation that should have helped resolve the issue, लेकिन आप सजाओं को सख्त करते जाते हैं, उनको यकीनी नहीं बनाते.
सख्त नहीं कर सकते ना, they don't सख्tify it.
नहीं सख्त करें, मैं ये नहीं कह रहा. I'm just saying कि उसका यकीनी बनाना ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है.
I appreciated one thing about Taliban. It's not that I support them in any way. The day the Taliban took over, 2 men were hung right in the center of the street because they abused children. And the reason, and after that, there was no such act that happened. You see, you have to make an example.
Veterans.
What has been happening in our country is the social media highlights these issues. Then after 3 days, they turn around and say, oh, the person was let go. He was freed out. They hype it up and then they bring it down by saying it was okay. So then the next one follows after that. And then after that and after that and after that, it carries on further. Take any example in the last 4 or 5 years, you see it's a reoccurrence of the same incident over and over again. Be it animal, be it child, be it woman, be it any gender that you, madrasas, rape in madrasas, anything.
Transgender persons.
There you go. You name it, we have it, and it's
Yeah.
a reputation. So until unless you don't bring it down, you don't punish them, you don't take action strict immediately, nothing is going to finish off. So, yeah,
Thank you. So, Mr. Andrew, I'll come to you. Actually, it's very difficult to compile or give one or two key recommendations of these challenges, but I'll come to you for your final thoughts and key recommendation on these.
15 million girls are out of 26.
No, I would Yeah, I mean, I would totally agree. I think education is prime. I think one thing that hasn't been touched, but maybe we don't have time, is economic opportunities as well in the workspace. I was struck that I think there's a statistic that only 25% of Pakistan's workforce is made up of women, and I think that's an area we haven't necessarily had the time to explore on this panel as a sort of economic empowerment piece. But maybe one for next time. But that would be something I'd throw into the mix. Thanks.
Just one, because I think that all the best recommendations have been already been given, and of course, I know Madam Aisha is going to be concluded in a very great way. But I just wanted to make an internationally request to all those human rights flag holders. Those always mention that they are the high people, like they know about the human rights. Either it's EU, UN. When it comes to these people who molest, who like done the worst of the worst, and when it comes to the punishment, then they make it the human rights issue as well. As Samina mentioned that it's the people were being hanged, and there are different examples, but I think it's more important that we need to set the examples. Like if something, God forbid, to happen to my daughter or anyone's daughter, will we sit quiet and will we wait that, okay, this is against the human rights? Like where it comes, you very well said that the economic issues, because I've gone through with, like, I'm a person who's sitting, I'm not saying that I'm a perfect person, but I have gone through the different, from child abuse to like till time and everything. And I've seen the different perspective of the different religions as well. So I think economic reforms are there, but most of the time, when the highly economical, strong people rape the poor person, and when it comes to the highly economical, strong person raping or harassing another strong person, so I think we need to see and look into inside.
Ma'am, thank you so much for compiling this at the end. Now, I'll not take much time and come to Honorable Justice Aisha Saiba for her keynote remarks.
I apologize in advance.
So I want to thank you for inviting me on a subject that's very important and should be spoken about more often than just on occasions of 16 days of activism. I want to thank all the panelists and even those who we've invited for their comments, which were very important and emotional indeed, because they are comments which are lived experiences of women and which are missing from the discussion, because the discussion is not generated by the lived experiences of women. So I'm going to try and articulate everything that's been said in a manner that I understand it as a judge and as someone before whom these cases come. So gender-based violence are cases of rape, of sexual assault, of harassment, and even cybercrime. But the thing to remember is that gender-based violence means violence against women because they are women. So that is why they are violated. And that's what is important to remember. And these cases, where do they stem from? Where do they originate? They come from a position of imbalance, where there is imbalance and inequality in power, in status, in economic autonomy, where there is a lack of substantive equality between men and women. These problems are deeply rooted in our culture, in our tradition, in our social beliefs, which we together as people believe is how we should run our society. So basically, when we talk about GBV cases, when we talk about all the issues that have been brought out here, we're really talking about one thing. How does society perceive women? How does society see women? And where does society put these problems? And I think the one thing that everyone has said is that it's not a priority. And I would have to agree there that it is not a priority. As other things are priority, GBV cases are not a priority. We've normalized it. We're used to hearing it. We're used to news about it. And as people, we are not outraged. There is no reaction. Whether the victim is a minor, where I think society should be outraged, where the victim is a minor, where she is a young girl or a young boy, where she is the mother of 3 on the motorway, we should be outraged. Because it's not just the woman that is being violated, it is society. It is a crime against society. That woman brings with her a family, children. You recognize her as a caregiver in the house, but you don't want to honor her dignity when it is violated. Now, we've heard everybody. They've given us the challenges. They've shown us where the issues are. And they've also pointed out a very important issue. And I think that was one of my areas that I was going to focus on is data. We shy away from collecting data, which means that we cannot speak about the problem scientifically with evidence. So I don't think there is anyone here who can really tell us exactly how many cases of rape there are in a country, which is why you commented and said that, the increase is there, but not so much, whereas you are commenting and saying that there is a lot. I think what we look at, or the way I look at it, is without the data, there can be no understanding of the problem. You can't even diagnose the issue if you don't have the data. So by not collecting data and not having a formal process of collecting the data and not knowing what data to collect, we will never diagnose the problem. We will never be able to correct the problem. And so we'll always be having the same circular discussion. We'll always be saying the same things, but we will never see the end to the problem because we don't have the data to talk about. So if we don't know how many cases of rape there are, we don't know how many actually are reported, we don't know how many there are convictions, how many women have resigned from their statements or have taken their cases back, we don't know the magnitude of the problem. Domestic violence is a serious issue, but there is a law that says it is a crime, but there are no reported cases and there are no reported judgments because it doesn't come to the court. So again, we have a problem here, and data is a significant problem which everyone agrees upon. But where am I seeing the problem? Where am I seeing the problem that everyone here has articulated? We do have good laws. We have good laws in the form of harassment and domestic violence laws. We have the Zainab Alert Response and Recovery Act. We have the Anti-Rape Act. We even have a sex offender registry by NADRA. And I didn't even know about this sex offender registry until I was at another conference and I discovered that it's not even operative. But it's a good thing. If we have it, it should become operative. So it's a good thing, and we need to see how to implement this. In the court system, we introduced the GBV courts, which are specialized courts, which were creating a more sensitive environment where the woman could narrate her story of the abuse that has happened without feeling harassed and without feeling stigmatized. We now have we have more GBV courts throughout the country, but exactly how effective they are, again, there's a lack of data. Whatever data we have right now suggests that they're not as effective as they should be. So the problem still persists. And as everyone here has mentioned, the problem persists from the very beginning, from where the crime is reported to the police, to the medical examiner, to the processes that the woman has to endure, into the courtroom, and ultimately the judgment. We find that women still have difficulty talking about it. They shy away from it. They run away from the court systems because, as you very rightly put it, she doesn't see an end to it. And she doesn't see that the system is going to treat her fairly. So let's be alarmed. Let's all be collectively alarmed. And I will give 3 reasons that I understand for us to be alarmed. The first is that there is an absolute lack of a gender perspective in the entire process, from reporting the crime to the actual judgment that comes up. The entire process is viewed, narrated, and explained and words of the man and through the eyes of the perpetrator, the accused. The story of the woman gets buried somewhere. The story of the woman doesn't really come out You don't experience and hear her trauma. You don't hear her issues of why it happened. But what we do focus on is why she was where she was, why she was dressed the way responsible for that attack. Whether it's in the house, was she the disobedient wife? I don't know what that notion is. Or is she a loyal wife? I don't know what that notion is. I am a wife myself, and I don't see disobedience or loyalty as a characteristic of being a wife. It's neither. So I think it's important to understand this. The second is the judgmental attitude that everybody has talked about. That women are automatically judged. And unfortunately, the courts are prey to this problem as well, that women are automatically judged. And the basic judgment that we have is that she is lying. So when we say that she is lying, when we say that what she's saying is not really true, when we say that is it rape or is it consensual, what we're saying really is that whatever story she's brought into the police station, into the courtroom, we are doubting her from the very beginning. We're doubting her from the incept and saying we're not sure even if what you're saying is correct. Do we do that in a case of murder? Do we do that in a case of theft? Do we do that in a case of kidnapping, or do we even do that on the civil side? We accept what the claimant has to say before us, and then we proceed accordingly. So in this case, there is a doubt that is attached, and this is something that's very prevalent in the subcontinent. It's a subcontinent issue, that we doubt the word of the woman because we believe women lie. And we believe that women lie when it comes to accusations of harassment and rape. And the fundamental starts from there. That's a problem. The second issue, which goes with the gender perspective, is that there is no gender narrative. Since there is no gender perspective, the narrative is also missing, because you don't have women writing about issues pertaining to women. You don't have women making policies about issues pertaining to women, and you don't have judges writing judgments on issues pertaining to women. So what happens here is, again, the focus becomes the perpetrator, the accused, the parents, society, and not that victim. We stopped looking at the victim. And the gender narrative means that there is no victim-centric approach, and we're not looking at what the woman has to say. For me, judgments are stories. And it matters whose story you're writing. It matters whose voice I am echoing in that judgment. If I'm writing from the woman's point of view, then that's the gender narrative that I'm bringing out. I'm talking about her trauma, what happened to her, why it happened to her, how she felt. And then you would look at the perpetrator, and he would have to explain why he did what he did. So you don't have a gender perspective, and you don't have a gender narrative. And that's a whole area of debate and discussion, because you don't have enough women sitting on the decision-making table where it matters. You don't have women participating in the discussions where it matters. So this entire gender perspective and narrative is out of the conversation. And then the emphasis of this becomes relevant. And I quickly go through it. So the Sadaf Aziz case, the two-finger test case, looked at rape differently. It looked at it from a woman's point of view and said that conducting a two-finger virginity test on a woman is a violation of her human right to dignity, her right to privacy. It's an abuse to her dignity, to her honor, when you are subjecting her to a test which is medically and scientifically of no consequence. And that's something that a man didn't think about, but it took a woman to do that. The Nadia Naz case said that harassment at the workplace is not sexual. Harassment is anything but sexual. It can be the way you're looked at. It can be the way you're spoken to. It can be the tone of the message. It can be the way you are responded to at the workplace. It can be the fact that you're not acknowledged, that you're ignored, that you're not visible. It can be anything. And women know what harassment is. But again, it took a woman to say, please, harassment is not just sexual. It doesn't have sexual connotation. It's not about that. So again, here you see how the gender perspective brings in and says that it's important. The gender perspective says, please look at the victim. Listen to the story and the voice of the victim. Please apply a standard that is reasonable for women, which is a reasonable woman standard. Look at things from the woman's point of view. And the third and most critical issue, which everyone has spoken about in how we conduct ourselves, how we treat how women treat women, how it is at home, how it is outside the home, and that's the mindset. It is the biggest challenge that we face is the mindset. And this mindset cannot be changed overnight. And this mindset cannot be changed unless we don't change our attitudes. And this is very important that we now understand that if you're going to respect the women of your society, if you're going to consider their dignity and their honor, you have to change the way you look at them, the way you perceive how they stand in society. And so it's important to understand when we look at mindset that domestic violence is not a family matter if the woman says, I've had enough and I need some relief here. Because there is a law, that law was made for that woman. And so we have to understand that. When it comes to rape cases, we have to look at the best evidence in the rape case, and we have to stop looking at things that don't exist, such as we say the two-finger test, or we look for marks of resistance. I ask this question everywhere. Please tell me what is marks of resistance in a rape case. I do not know what those marks of resistance are. We have to stop saying that the scene of the crime doesn't suggest there was rape there. I don't know what that scene of the crime will show to suggest rape. Rape is rape. It's a violation of her body, of her mind, of her emotion, of her soul. And so you can't be looking for things that don't make sense, which in today's jurisprudence no longer exist. And there is the Muhammad Imran case, for anyone who's interested. It's a dissent, which I recently authored at the Supreme Court, which highlights how the mindset prevails in the system, where even DNA, which is the best evidence that we have in court today, is converted not for the rape benefit of the victim to say rape, but converted for the benefit of the accused to say consent. That's the mindset. That's what you're tackling. That's where the problem is. But then we have to look at GBV in a broader context now. We can't just say this is rape, this is violence, this is, abuse. There is more to it because we now have COVID to learn from. We have climate change to learn from. We have displacement camps to learn from. We have lockdowns to learn from. We cannot say that these problems exist in isolation in a few homes. We know from the floods in Sindh that there was a lot of abuse in the camps. And we know this is a global phenomenon. Displacement causes abuse, and we have to look at it. COVID and lockdowns gave rise to family problems. It caused abuse. We have to acknowledge this. We have to acknowledge, like was said, mental illness is a problem. Mental health issues are problems. We have to acknowledge the fact that we have to look at behavioral problems. We have to understand, why is this man hitting her or abusing her? What is it that is causing that? What can I do to stop it? How can I help the woman? That's how we have to proceed. Not that she is likely to be lying. She deserved the fact that she was hit or raped. This is a domestic matter. She shouldn't talk about rape because it brings shame to the family and the honor of the family. What about the woman's honor? And what about the honor of the woman and her dignity? So what do we do? What do we do from what all we've heard? Well, the first is data. I think this is important. We have to improve data. Data has to be a priority. We have to talk through science and through evidence, and that is data. So we want to know, where is the rape and why it's not being reported? Where is the police station? Why did she resign from her statement? Where are the judgments? Where are the convictions? And where has she withdrawn? Under what circumstances has she withdrawn the case? Where are the problems? If I don't know the problems, I cannot correct the problems. I cannot address the problem. The other thing is we need reforms, and we talk about reforms, but reforms have to be viewed from the woman's point of view. They have to be effective, and they have to make sense to a woman, right from reporting the crime all the way to the court. You have to look at it from her point of view. Where are those problems, and where are those procedural issues that are being faced by her? The two-finger test was one problem, but there are many. Attitudes is another one. And does bringing in a woman police station solve that attitude problem? I think the senator has answered the question. It does not, because that's not really looking at the problem. That's a superficial look at the problem and a superficial answer, assuming that women will help resolve the, that's right. And women, domestic abuse sometimes is caused by women to other women. So we have to focus on the psychology of it. I think gender sensitization is something that we must all accept. We need to be trained and we need to understand what it means to be gender sensitive. Just saying to women, we respect you, aap hamari maan hai, hamari behan hai, hamari beti hai, ji bilkul hai, but that's not what all this is about. We want women to feel safe, to be protected. We want to understand that a violation of her body, of her emotions, of her mind is a violation of everybody. It's not just the woman, because she is, after all, at the end of the day, we say she is the mother, she takes care of our children, she shapes the future of the children and their minds, but we are not really bothered about what's happening to that woman. So it's important to tackle the mindset, because mindset really, for me, mindset is where implementation becomes a problem. Mindset is where enforcement becomes a problem. Mindset is where the laws that we have are not really enforced. The judgments just become writings which are not enforced, which nobody really knows what to do with. And it's very important to understand empowerment. I think mindset, empowerment important hai. When we speak about empowering women, we're not bringing some Western notion into our culture. We're simply talking about giving the woman the right to live her life with dignity, to make her own choices, to be able to say, I am hurt, which means I am hurt. I don't need my father, my mother, my brother to tell me whether I am hurt or not. And it also means giving her the ability to say, I need to report this, I don't want this anymore. For her to have enough autonomy that she can decide what she needs to do and is not dependent on anyone to the extent that she has to access the justice sector to go and report some harm that's being caused to her. So empowerment is important. It's a concept we all have to understand. Empowering women is not about bringing some alien concept into our world. It's also not making all the women of Pakistan the Aisha Maliks of Pakistan. That's not what empowerment is. Empowerment is simply about giving women her rightful due in society, treat her with dignity, treat her like a human being, give her the ability to say that she has been wronged, and allow her to seek rightful remedy when she says that she has been wrong. So basically, when we allow that, we remove certain imbalances. We remove the controlling aspect that we have in our society of wanting to control the woman and wanting to control what she wants to do and what she doesn't want to do, to the extent that you end up controlling her thinking. That's what we're saying, you see. You end up controlling her thinking. So I think how we would all have, we all have concluded on the matter is that let's make this a priority. Let's make this something that is beyond just discussion. And more importantly, let's talk about how to fix the real issues. And let's really work towards fixing the real issues by realizing that women are human beings and they're entitled to their protection of being treated with dignity, their right to life, their right to their bodies, and more importantly, their right to be treated as equal citizens of this country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
I just want to add 2-3 things. I'm sorry, I have a problem. So I will take this opportunity and I thank everyone here because I really appreciate the fact that this is very few events that I have enjoyed being a part of, because we all have the same thought process and I haven't wasted my time. Thank God. So yeah, I just wanted to say one thing, Madam Justice Aisha said, that, you know, it's women who are either in a position where they can be abused. There I differ a bit, with all due respect. It's not whether if the woman has been empowered or whether or not, it's about the insecurity of a man. It's insecure men that lay a hand on a woman. I can be at a high position as a senator, but I can't stop my husband because he feels that he's a man and he's a man of the house. No matter, we both might be bringing in the money, we might both be at the earning ends, we both might be educated, but he has authority because he's been brought up in that society where he thinks he's the man. He can due to his insecurities about me, regardless of whether or if I'm wrong, as a, like you said, loyal or disobedient wife, can raise his hand on me. So we all have faced that. There have been incidents where we have seen that a woman has been black and like bruises all over her face, all over her body. Evidences is an excuse, I'm sorry to say, that they say that there's no evidence of rape. They might have had evidences, but they have chosen to ignore those evidences. And I'm so proud to have met you, that you actually are able to say what it is and how it is. So it's an honor. And the second thing that I would like to say is that in the end of the day, like you said, and Rumina said that, I was just going to say Rubina, I'm sorry, that mental health is very important. And what we need to see is when a man is hitting a woman, or a man is doing anything wrong to another woman, he needs to understand what the implementations that the kind of impact that he's having on his children's mind, be it a girl or boy. Again, it comes down to that trauma that might not show at that particular time will last with them for the rest of their life. And it will come out with a vengeance eventually further down, be it rape, be it molestation, be it abuse that they've seen with their mother or themselves. That comes out in a very, very negative way in their futures, maybe 20, 30 years down the line, maybe with their own children. So if people understand this, if we bring in awareness in our societies, I love the fact that on any political issue, everyone rises up, comes out on the roads, and like Madam said that, they raise their voice and they throw a havoc. And she's mentioned the incident of the road accident where the woman was holding 3 children, the rape incident. I heard people turn around and say, oh, what was she doing at that time on the road with her children? So she took it, I drive myself. So I thought to myself, so I can't drive with my children on a road, and God forbid this kind of incident happens with anybody, forget me. So this is what our society, unfortunately, we need to sensitize the women, we need to sensitize the men, we need to sensitize our society, and it starts from the roots. And that is where the children are concerned. So we need to start so that tomorrow when a father is beating their mother, or a mother is doing whatever she's doing, the child can turn around and say, no, this is wrong, don't do this. I think we need to implement it in the child as well as adults. It's very important. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
In the end, thank you so much, all speakers, to rightly highlighting the challenges and giving us the some recommendation what we can do it. Before I come to the conclusion, to request Dr. Sajid for thank you remarks, I'm very happy and honored that I am announcing this network on the behalf of STPI in the presence of such the incredible speakers and practitioners who are working in real life on these issues. So today STPI is launching its Gender Equity Policy Network, GENP. This network is a strategic initiative of STPI that is designed to advance gender equity in Pakistan through inclusive decision making and effective policy action. By involving key stakeholders, including government officials, civil society organization, academia, and the private sector, the network aims to establish a collaborative framework that integrates gender consideration across all sectors. This initiative will focus on developing gender-responsive policies and ensuring equitable distribution of resources and opportunities. Through this platform, the GENP seeks to advocate the transformative policies that not only promote gender equality, but also facilitate sustainable socio-economic development in Pakistan that align with the national commitments to the SDGs and what's coming post SDGs. And thank you so much everyone for joining. Madam Senator, Madam Rumina, Justice Saiba, STPI will be your disposal for producing any kind of research on the subject. Thank you so much. Before we conclude, I would like to request Dr. Sajid Amin, Deputy Executive Director, STPI, for his thank you remarks. After that, you can ask the question because we are running out of the time.
Thank you, Sadia. I think you have done so many thanks that I'm left not much with thanks. So let me just my note of appreciation. I think there are a few of the discussion that we need every day. As is the GBV and the gender-based violence, I think. And I'll suggest not this one-time off discussion from your forum. Congratulations to you. You may convert into a series of discussions. And we can see still the points remaining from the panelists. From every panelist still has much to say. So on behalf of Dr. Abid Sleri and entire management of SDPI, I'm genuinely thankful to all of you to bring this. But I have one very interesting update for you. I mean, there was much discussion on data. Just today, we have completed a survey of 5,400 households from across the Pakistan on GBV with the support from the UNFPA. And my team is just sort of making this more presentable. And the Justice Honorable Aisha most probably said that we make it a rosy picture, and most probably maybe Senator Honorable. We are really worried there's no rosy picture coming from our data. Actually, this is really alarming pictures coming. We have on prevalence, the perceptions on GBV, the types of GBV, the questions on rape, the questions on the drivers. So we have very detailed around 40-page survey instrument.
Do share your
so once it comes out, we will be, and I think this is where Sadia can also take forward these messages from this forum as well. So once again, I'm very thankful to all of you for enlightening us. It's a very informative session. Thank you.
We said the rosy picture is not from where the data that we are collecting. Overall, what they bring to us, the
Yes.
commission, that is where the rosy picture comes in, and that is where the alarm, because the reality comes from the organization.
Exactly.
That's alarming.
And this is really alarming that we will be bringing many alarm bells coming to you. Over to you, Sadia Beg. Thank you.
Sir, can you join us for a group photo?
Yes, please, please.
Lots of flashbacks. They get so